But speaking of people who want to continue to control the narrative with their propagandist misinformation, listen to this. Lisa Bloom. I don't know her history. Apparently her mother was a famous lawyer for, I don't know. I just read some comments. I'm learning. I started from scratch with this stuff a few years ago now. Trial lawyer fighting for victims of discrimination, harassment, and abuse. Vegan proselytizer. That's where I... No, hold on. Oh, that's where I got suspicious. I have nothing against anybody who believes in something for themselves, but the second people start to proselytize on anything, let me just make sure that that word means what I think it means. Proselytize, to convert or attempt to convert someone from one religion, belief, or opinion to another. Yeah. I have a problem with proselytizers in general. Discussers, sharers of opinions, sharers of beliefs, I have no problem with. Trying to tell someone else what to believe and to change their beliefs, I have a problem with it. And when I saw that she's a vegan proselytizer, and I'm sitting here thawing out my $15, by the way, people, $15 for 200 grams of beef. That's 15 Canadian, so that's like $11.50 US. When I hear someone vegan proselytizing and I'm staring at my evening steak thawing out, it's funny. It's ironic. But proselytizers in general, if you love your beliefs and you believe in your beliefs, it doesn't matter if anybody else believes in them. That should be enough for a true believer. I do appreciate people genuinely want to help other people. I would then refer to it not as proselytizing per se, but rather share your thoughts. If they are good thoughts, compelling thoughts, if it will make people subscribe to your newsletter. Pushing too hard is never a good thing. But listen to this. Lisa Bloom, a lawyer. Let me just go back. A lawyer fighting for victims of discrimination, harassment, and abuse. This was her takeaway of the trial. I had to advise two women today that if they speak out about their sexual the essays, they can be sued. Even if they don't name their abuser, even if they don't identify him by job or relationship, one wept at being silenced. The fallout from Johnny Depp v. Amber Heard. I can't pretend to have this thought because it wasn't my thought. I'm going to go back to my thread and see who it was that raised this. When you read this, by the way, read it as though she just threatened two women not to make allegations of abuse because she would sue them. Read it not as though these were her clients. Read this as though two potential victims came to her and said, I'm gonna rat out your clients because they abused me. Read it like that. Let's go ahead and read it first, like as though probably the way in which it was written, which was she had two clients. So read it. Let's read it as her clients first. I had to advise two women today that if they speak out about their sexual assaults, they can be sued, even if they don't name their abuser, even if they don't identify him by job or relationship. One wept at being silenced. The fallout from the Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard. Now read it as though she threatened two people into silence. I had to advise two women today that if they speak out about their assaults, they can be sued. Even if they don't name their abuser, even if they didn't identify him, his job or relationship. One actually wept at being silenced. The fallout from the Johnny Depp v. Amber Heard. But can we read it like that? Now that I read it with that potential, she never mentioned if it's a client or an alleged victim coming to her about one of her clients. And it can be read both ways. In the context following up on her follow-up threads, it looks like, she was giving advice to people. To which I said, we'll get to that one. Hold on. Then you gave them terrible legal advice based on a lack of understanding of law and facts, and they should seek proper counsel. Now let's just go through this, element by element. She spoke to two women today. They can be sued if they come forward about their essays. First of all, this is a truism. Anyone, anywhere, especially in the United States, can get sued pretty much for anything. You slip and fall, you can get sued. You stick your hand in a vending machine and you get your arm lacerated trying to get a Coke out of the machine. You can sue. The vending machine can get sued because they shouldn't have had, sharp things in there. They know people are going to stick their hands in there. And so it's a trap. It was, one of those, it was a trap. They should be able, in the United States, it's a highly litigious society for good and for bad because it does have its pros and it does have its cons. To say you can be sued for saying something, it's a truism. It's a non-starter. It's a non-statement. You can always pretty much be sued for anything and anything. It just depends on whether or not it's a frivolous lawsuit that gets tossed on a motion to dismiss or a substantively well-grounded lawsuit that proceeds. Okay, so if you come out and you make allegations against someone, you can get sued. Fine. Even if they don't name their abuser. The legal implication of what's being said here is that Amber Heard didn't name Johnny. And therefore, one of the legal theories loosely floated was that Johnny wasn't identified. So the allegedly defamatory statements were not of and about Johnny because it didn't mention his name. And basically, this lawyer here is saying, even if you don't name your abuser, you can get sued. Well, yeah, if it is known that the statements are of and about someone, even if they didn't get named. And this is defamation 101. The fact that you don't name someone is not necessarily a protection if everybody within the community knows who you're talking about. So a CEO of a very powerful food company, a CEO of an executive of GoPro. I shouldn't even say that because they're nice people. A campaign manager for the Clinton campaign. I didn't name anybody, but I didn't name anybody, but I just made it clear. So if one is saying don't come forward because even if you don't name them, you can still get sued. Yeah, if you don't name them, but you give sufficient details that everybody knows who they're talking about. And by the way, if Amber Heard had used this as a defense, a real defense in her case, I wasn't necessarily. Who knows? I was talking about someone from 20 years ago. She might have had a better chance, but she admitted it doesn't matter. So the idea that even if you don't name your abuser, you can still get sued. Yeah, because in law, if you make it clear and it is known within the community who you're talking about, not using their name, but using other identifiable factors is not a defense. Even if they don't identify him by job or relationship. Well, that goes back to the other one, the fallout of the Johnny Depp trial. No, it's not the fallout of the Johnny Depp trial. It's the fallout of gaslighting, disingenuous attempts to misrepresent the facts so as to misrepresent the law. $15, by the way, people. $15 for 200 grams of beef. That's 15 Canadian. So that's like $11.50 US.